Recording in progress. Yada Yahuwah. I want to deal with practical life, working for a living. So, the narrative in the Bible has Adam being the first man, basically created to have dominion over the earth, being fruitful and multiply. And his bride, Hava, or who we've learned to call Eve, is brought up out of him. And as instruction, they were told not to eat from a certain tree. And upon the request of his wife, Adam did eat from that tree, disobeying Yah. And out of that, this man who had been created and had access to so much, the work that he had to do was not as difficult, but it became harder once he went from the direction of Yah being what he heeded to heeding his wife. So I just want to read a text, short text, and then just talk a little bit. So let me go to this text and let's keep going. Get going. All right. So the text that I'm sharing here, let me go to share my screen. I'm going to Bereshit, or Genesis 3. And I want to hit what's called verse 17. And it says, and the man, he said, this is Yah saying, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil, remember that word, toil, you are to eat of it all the days of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and dust you return. So let me go over to the definition of toil. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. All right, blowing it up a little bit. So as you see right here, the word toil means to work extremely hard or incessantly, exhausting physical labor. I love doing my graphics and t-shirts. It's not really work to me, but it has not been something that I've been able to make my full-time job. It's great when you can find something that you enjoy doing that may take some labor, but most of us end up working jobs. Job, Job, or we call him Job, that man went through a lot of suffering. That toil is like Job, job, work. I've been working in security for now about 25 years. And some people may not think security is that hectic, but it has some hectic days. And some days I ain't gonna say some days, a lot of days I want to just quit. But knowing that I have bills to pay and other responsibilities, can't do that. I am certain that I am not the only one that, goes to work waiting to go home. There's so much toil in the process of work. And it's like, man, why do we have to go through all this just to live life? And I get it. You have to put your hands towards some effort to do some things, but man, we give up majority of our day, our uptime at work to places or companies that really don't give a care about us. And they use our physical bodies until they can't use them anymore. As a parent, I'm one that pushes education to an extent. I'm not one that want to worship education, but I'm like, go ahead and get your education while it's free. And then maybe you can, end up with more education that would have regularly cost and get that for free. Get a trade or something. I kind of try to get anybody that I know, if you got something that you like to do, try to make money off of it so that you can do what you enjoy and not be stressed. Sad thing about it, a lot of times when people have gotten into the things that they love to do, they end up losing the love for it because now they have to do it. It's not something that they're doing leisurely. You know, there are some days when I got orders and it's like, man, it's like this again. I want to be creative. And a lot of people don't draw my creative. You know, oh, I want that. And they want exactly what somebody else had. But then later on, they complain about it. Oh, man, I wish it had been a little bit different. And it's like, well, I customize. You know, I really ain't trying to make this long, but the practicality that I see, we can look at this situation with Adam and Havah and see our own lives, that struggle and that toil that is on us. Me as a father, I'm giving much direction to my children to take advantage of education. If they didn't, then, you know, and even with that, education is a lot of work. I didn't finish school. So that's why I'm in a hour job. You know, sometimes when people finish school, they end up with salaries. They end up with jobs that they can flex or work from home or whatever. No, I have to punch a clock and I have to stay there. Have to give them basically I get an hour lunch that I have to take off their clock. So for 9 hours of my day, I'm dealing with work, even though I'm only getting paid for 8. Then my travel and all that. And it's like, people say, well, you should be happy you got a job. But I feel like, me and my son talk about it a lot, that work is almost like servitude or slavery. And it does not benefit us other than the paycheck. And we never feel like we're getting paid what we're worth. Very thankful that we have the opportunity, not, knocking that. But honestly, I'm 53 and my body is feeling it. I have a lot of people reaching towards my pockets and wanting money from me. And it's like, I'm still living basically check to check. Yes, I have savings, but that's trying to look towards the future, look towards doing things as my family, paying for college and doing stuff like that, paying for college situations, not all fully college. My daughter is basically got the school taking care of that, but still got to pay for housing, paying for cars, all these different things. You know, oh, you might need a new roof. All you're gonna have expenses, and you can't give your money away to every situation. Yes, I'm a giver, so I've helped people. But when I was off for 10 months due to my Achilles, we were struggling, and no help came. When my wife was off for 17 months because she didn't take the vaccine, and I expect something like that may happen again, we had to hit our savings. And it's good that we had our savings. A lot of people don't have savings and they're not planning for other things. They give up their money to go to concerts, do other things and stuff like that. And it's like, what about when something important happens that, is detrimental to your household? If you don't have the resources, you can't expect other people to come out of theirs. That's why we work, we work, we work. And we definitely enjoy the time that we get off. But I can't, I'm tired of working. But again, I know that I don't have a retirement set up. I do have some things put in motion, but they're not far as a pension or anything like that. A lot of people have invested in 401k. When I had a 401k, all of it basically got lost or whatever when they had that major crash that happened. Most of my 401k was zapped. And so I stopped putting into the 401k system. As most people say, well, it turned back around. I didn't trust it. That's just me. And hopefully, others that have benefited off of it, disregard what I'm saying. But, it wasn't practical for me. But I just want to shoot something quick. Work is work. Job, that toil is there. I walked around the grounds at work last night, and it's cold. And, my legs like, oh, I can feel it. And the winter's about to come about. And I'm going to have to do that in the winter time. I'm not sitting behind a desk. I'm not inside a building all the time. I got some periods of times in the building. So I'm gonna have to deal with those elements. So definitely, you know, I can't guarantee I'm not gonna get sick. I don't get sick too often, but I can't guarantee it. So it's good to have sick time. It's good to have money set aside just in case that happens. There's nothing wrong with setting stuff aside and, preparing. Many have said that, okay, the aid and government aid is being cut off or whatever. I wonder if a lot of those people prepared. Don't want to speak negatively about any of them, but hopefully when you heard that that was going to happen, you started preparing for it. We keep hearing over and over that the power is going to go off in the wintertime. I'm glad they did like a power outage, in this, fall time or whatever here in Michigan or whatever. They did some restoration of some stuff. But if it was to go out in the deep cold of winter, having a generator only works so much. You know, it gets cold here in Michigan. So having resources and having things in place, heated blankets, candles, all these things being prepared, extra food, that's wisdom. That's practical. All right. This is preparation day. So I've put some preparation message out there. All right. Ahaba. Yada Yahuwah. Shalom.